Chainsaw Man chapter 163 gives us a bit of a time jump from where the last chapter left off, and the biggest takeaway that we can take away from here, besides all the ball-kicking devil gags that are continuing from part 1, is that there is definitely a cover-up going on in public safety when it comes to what happened at the Devil Extermination Center. So we open up the chapter with a rather odd shot of a news report on tabloid gossip, and the lady that is speaking, she's talking so melodramatic, saying how now that the news is broken, her mother hasn't been able to go outside, and it leaves you as a reader thinking, man, have things really escalated to a point where the people, they don't even want to go out anymore. And when the lady starts talking about conspiracy theories, your mind, it just starts wandering to see where this is going, and if this is going to be more war propaganda, which will power up Yoru, or if this will be Chainsaw Man propaganda that will power up Denji, which this all serves as an effective hook to draw us all in as readers, because now we're all super curious to know what's so bad about this lady on the screen that she's talking about, that she wants to directly talk into the camera to the person that is responsible, and that's where Fujimoto just trolls us. It's basically tabloid gossip about an idol that was dating and got caught up in a love affair, turned into a marriage that was involving a professional baseball player, and the kid watching it from the Chainsaw Man motley crew that just broke out Denji is sighing a sigh of relief. And just when you start laughing at the absurdity of everything we got, it becomes clear as to why Fujimoto went this route of dropping this in before giving us the more serious lines of dialogue that's going to be buried between all the humor in the front part of the chapter and the back end of the chapter, which is basically what high school kid is going to be watching the news this keenly. Sure, there are going to be some exceptions, but most high school kids, they aren't doing it. And so for a moment, you start to feel like, wow, Fujimoto just pulled one over on us, especially when the guy watching is proclaiming how much of a fan of Komagawa, the name of the pop idol who is being accused of sleeping with the baseball player. But that's where Fujimoto again pulls the rug out from underneath us. They're watching the news, rightfully so, to see if the news has reported on what happened at the Devil Extermination Center, with them breaking out Chainsaw Man, but none of the news reports, they talk about a group of high school terrorists breaking out Denji, and in all honesty, it makes a lot of sense this is being covered up. It's really not a good look from a position of maintaining reputation if you let it get out that a center meant for destroying devils, a center where devils have never escaped, not only saw a devil escape, but a group of high school kids, let me repeat that, a group of high school kids were the ones who broke in and then broke right back out carrying the very devil you're supposed to be chopping up. You guys have heard me say this before years now, that I reference the 48 laws of power directly and indirectly, and I'm going to make a quick reference here because this ties in perfectly. So rule number 5 of the 48 laws of power states that you must guard your reputation with your life. Reputation, it is everything. A strong reputation allows you to set the terms of a negotiation before you even sit at a table. It puts fear into people without them ever looking you in the eye in your presence. For seduction purposes, it's made members of the opposite sex be attracted to people like Casanova, someone who is historically regarded as the Riz god of seduction, despite reports saying he wasn't overly attractive back in his day, but there are women who are already attracted to him just based off of his reputation. Reputation is your most valuable asset next to your time. Once either of them is lost, you never truly get them back, which is why you guard them with your life. You don't waste your time and you don't play with your reputation. Public safety, they cannot broadcast what happened, because the moment that they do so, it puts a shining light on the fact that they aren't this super perfect organization, that they might have other vulnerabilities that haven't been exposed yet. And this is a big vulnerability. Think about it. They lost Makima, the person who kept a lot of the chaos within public safety under control, in particular when it came to the devils. Sure, she was using a combination of her control powers and her seduction, but the fact is, Makima, through whatever methods, and irregardless as to if you think she was crossing lines with them, which she definitely crossed a lot of moral lines, that's why I love her character, she had a very tight grip on public safety, and for optics sake, you have to play the game that Kishibe is playing right now by not reporting the truth of what happened. happen. This is, in my opinion, the most important panel of the entire chapter where this information is revealed about the lack of reporting, but it's gonna be lost in all the humor that comes from everyone kicking Denji in the balls, which that was funny, don't get me wrong, it was funny, but it's meant to overshadow that nugget information there. We then shift over to Mitaka saying that she used to have her 15 minutes of fame, people used to rejoice over her, but now it feels like she's dreaming, and she mentions she's lost an arm, and then that's where Fujimoto takes the time to lift the scope back a little bit and show us more of Fami's apartment. The members of the Chainsaw Man rescue team are all gathered there, and while Katana Man is taking an insanely long time in the shower, Makima makes a line about wondering how Fami stays so skinny despite eating so much, which I'm gonna touch on towards the end of this video. And the nail fiend is on the bed looking at Denji saying how cute he is when he's asleep, which naturally makes Denji wake up. And after the hilarious reaction of the nail fiend telling Denji to go back to sleep because he's more attractive when he's asleep, you have a very important conversation, albeit a very short one, but important nonetheless, between Denji and Mitaka, where Denji immediately notices that Mitaka's lost her arm. And what we see is that their first interaction since Mitaka learned the truth, it isn't her lashing out about being lied to, which she would have every reason to do. It's something up until this point the story has made you want to wait and see where Mitaka's emotions will take her when she sees Denji, and just when you begin to wonder if maybe something is going to swerve us with these two, Katana Man freshly changed and out the shower stomps on Denji's balls and tells him to transform so they can jump into round 3, and this leads to Denji wondering if he's dreaming, and then Denji groaning as he realizes he's not in a dream anymore because the pain in his balls is real. And that's where we learn that this group, they made a deal. Mitaka aggressively reminds them that they weren't to attack Denji until they explained everything to him, and that's what I find interesting. Mitaka jumped right to Denji's defense, and it goes back to the dilemma of Mitaka and Yoru, Black Chainsaw Man and Red Chainsaw Man. They now know that Denji is really Chainsaw Man, and Mitaka, she wants answers, because depending on what Denji says regarding that dilemma, it will either lead to a peace of mind for her, or what we ultimately know is going to be heartbreak. But lo and behold, Fujimoto, he isn't letting Mitaka off that easy, because Yoru takes over and kicks Denji in the balls before mounting him and saying that she wants Chainsaw Man to go ahead and wake up. And the high school kids in the room, they all remark about how they don't feel safe anymore. This was a chapter that probably was meant to make you laugh, and if it did, mission accomplished. You drop in a few cool callbacks to the ball kicking devil from part 1, which is basically what Denji mentioned when he was kicking Aki in the balls in part 1. And what we see with Denji is that he's got a few people lining up to take swings at him, but Fujimoto is keeping in the back of our minds the fact that Fami is eating a lot of food. And given that this is shonen, this was clearly Fujimoto planting the seeds in our mind as readers begin to wonder, why is Fami eating that ridiculous amount of food? And the reason goes back to her name. Fami is short for famine. Famines produce drought and a lack of food and resources. They've been preparing for the Death Devil, and everyone wants to fight Denji. And the first time we saw Fami use her powers, she used them at the aquarium during that rematch with the Eternity Devil. So this just makes you wonder what might be the case with Fami. Between what we're seeing with Fami and the clear disconnect between Mitaka, who wants to talk to Denji, and Yoru, who wants all the smoke with Denji, and the games that Public Safety are playing, this next chapter, Chainsaw Man, is going to be one for the books.